All right, mic check, 1, 2, mic check. Hope everyone can hear me right now. I know a couple of people right now are also watching the ads that sometimes get forced to play. That's why you guys, if you're watching this after the stream, sometimes it might take a minute or two for me to actually get on here. It's because I have to watch those ads. So just keep that in mind. I'm not trying to keep you guys waiting. The very first one I can skip, I just go ahead and skip it. So just want to make sure I point that out before we get started. But I see people already funneling in. Thank you so much for all the thumbs up. Even before we really even started, thumbs up are already up there. So thank you so much for all of that, guys. Just going to wait a little bit longer before we get into the topic at hand today. Before we actually, dive right into it, I just want to make sure people get the notification that we are actually live right now. That way we can, if there are any questions, we can get to those questions as well. But as the title says, and as you guys probably know, our topic for today are foods to avoid for constipation. So if constipation is something you're dealing with, and as I've talked in a video before, I said it's going to be well over 10% of people around the world, so for everyone, who are going to be dealing with constipation at least one point of time in their life. And it's probably going to be a little bit higher than that. I think it's around almost 15%. And that's just not, a couple of days constipation. That's going to be chronic constipation. So constipation is something that affects everyone, and it's probably something that we've gone through at least once in our life, and it can show up multiple times. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding foods that are going to cause that, all right, and also make it worse. But then I also want to get a little bit into foods that can actually help us avoid constipation. And I have a nice kind of list off the top of my head that I think is going to really be helping this. You guys know how important I think digestion is, and they're going to go hand in hand. So you're going to hear me talking about a lot of high fiber foods, other type of enzymes, digestive enzymes, other types of foods that have digestive enzymes like amylase that's going to help speed up the digestive process, help food move through the intestines, and then, kind of bring down the symptoms of certain digestive ailments, which we, of course, don't want to be dealing with, because if we're dealing with constipation and bloating and all of that other stuff where we're not getting much bulk, our regularity is very low, that's just not something that's enjoyable. And to live a healthy, happy life, we want to make sure that we're not dealing with constipation in our day-to-day lives. And again, like I said, I threw the statistic out there. 15% of people are going to be dealing with chronic constipation at least one time in their life. So let's make sure that we try to avoid that. And again, I'll just throw it out here as well. Perhaps the most important thing is that we're getting enough fiber. So fiber, just as much as protein and fiber are like the two things, just because of my training and everything like that. Protein and fiber are the two big essential macronutrients. A lot of people won't include fiber in a macronutrient. Some will. I usually tend to throw it in there as well, because we want to make sure we're hitting that minimum of 30 grams of fiber per day. If you're not getting 30 grams of fiber per day, then we really need to make an adjustment with our diet. Because if you're eating healthy, if you're eating, complex carbohydrates, vegetables, good protein sources, healthy fats, you should have no problem hitting that 30 grams of fiber. 30 grams of fiber really adds up fast. Like I gave you guys that one example of an oatmeal with blueberries, and then maybe even just one tablespoon of flaxseed. You're going to be getting close to about 12 to 15 grams of fiber just there alone. And so if you're getting that, you're already at half of your fiber intake. So if we can see some people in chat, again, it's always nice to know that people can actually hear, that people can actually get onto the live stream. That would be great. I know the numbers are up, but it's always nice to see people interacting. That way I know I'm not just talking to myself. So if someone can, just give me a quick hello, maybe good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, that would be greatly appreciated. So I've gone on my little rant here just to start. Again, if you guys have any questions dealing with constipation, again, this is not medical advice. All right. Again, this is coming from someone who's done a ton of research on the topic, who's done multiple videos on the topic. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as well. Again, this is not coming from medical point of view. So just want to get that off, kind of get that information out there right off the bat. It's not coming from a medical source or anything like that. All right, there you guys are. Look at everyone funneling in. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. AAVV, Will, Classic MG, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you coming into the channel today. Look at those thumbs up, even faster climbing. Thank you very much, guys. 30 grams of fiber is equal to how many fruits? Welcome from San Francisco. Very nice. All the way out there in California. One place that I would very much like to visit one day. Hopefully you're having some nice weather out there. That's an interesting question. First of all, it depends on the fruit. Okay, so fruits that tend to be higher in fiber. All right, so I'll answer that question first. All right, apples are going to be your friend. Pears are going to be your friend. Kiwi is going to be your friend. Citrus fruits, so there's numerous ones out there. Lemons are a great source of pectin, which is a source of soluble fiber. So citrus fruits like lemons, limes, things like that. Any other fruits that kind of come off the top of my head? Maybe rhubarb or something like that. But again, apples, even blueberries. If I didn't say blueberries and raspberries are very underrated in their fiber content. Now, how much you need, again, depends on, how much. It's kind of hard to say how much fruit is equal to, because you're going to want to have a balance of fruit. If you're eating apples, you might have to eat something around 10 apples per day to get that 30 grams. So it sort of depends on what your fruit sources are. Same thing with pears. You might have to eat like 8, 9, maybe 10 pears, something like that. I think there's about 3 grams of fiber in each of those. That's why they're very digestive, healthy, can help with constipation. All right, and again, I always will suggest eating apples and pears over things like grapes, papaya, mango. Not that I don't like them, just because they're high in fiber. All right, their fiber content sort of sets them apart. And yes, Marilyn, prunes, absolutely. And remember though, prunes are just dried plums. So it's just like a plum with your prunes. They can be a little bit higher in sugar. So that's why I tend to lean towards the citrus fruits, the apples, the pears, but prunes are great for fiber as well. Just, keep in mind that they are going to be a little bit higher in calories and a little bit higher in sugar. Any dried fruit for that, on that topic with sugar intake, like if you take raisins, which are just grapes, all right, raisins are very high in sugar. Natural sugars, all right, we're not talking about refined sugar, or like the white sugar, natural sugars, but still fairly high in calories, carbohydrates, and sugar. So you're right, prunes are definitely a great source of fiber. One of the best. I think I included it first in one of my recent videos on constipation, to be honest, just because they're a natural mild laxative. So when we say that they're a laxative, don't think of like medication or anything like that. They're mild, natural laxative that are going to give you some benefits. Good afternoon to you, Marilyn. Hear you very well. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you guys can hear me. Thank you so much for letting me know, Marilyn. So yeah, again, just depends on the type of fruit. And I say, don't be going for the 10 apples. Spread it out, because blueberries, raspberries, pears, lemons, things like that, spread out and enjoy your fruit. Don't just be getting it from one source. You're right, Classic MG. Apples are an excellent source of fiber, just like I've been saying here. I just saw your comment now, though. I like apples and pears. Apples and pears are really satiating for me, just because not only are they naturally sweet, low in sugar, but because of their fiber intake as well, very high in nutrients. But yes, a great source of fiber. Absolutely right. So before we get into that, let's talk about before we get into the foods that are good sources of fiber. All right. And remember, fiber is not the only thing that's going to be helping us stay away from constipation or offering us constipation relief. But let's talk a little bit about the foods we want to avoid. And these are probably ones that you guys can think of off the top of your head. So first of all, one kind of, a drink, I guess, in this case, I don't know if I would call it a food per se, but alcohol is very, very common in causing constipation. And, especially if you're drinking more than moderation. So alcohol is one of those things. Say you're dealing with constipation, alcohol is probably one of the worst choices for you to make in dealing with constipation. And the reason for this is not only, I'm not trying to say like alcohol is bad, never drink alcohol. Of course, it's not great for your body. Of course, we know that it's damaging to the body. There's no nutrients in it. All right. So yeah, I'm not judging. All right. So certainly not judging, but let's connect it to the constipation topic. All right. The one thing is, if we want if we want to stay away from constipation, one thing is we want good hydration. But what alcohol does is it robs your body of fluids. So if you're drinking alcohol, the reason why you wake up with a hangover is because your body's dehydrated. And studies have shown that dehydration can lead to an increased risk of constipation. And when we talk about studies, there's multiple studies that show this. So one of the things that you're going to want to avoid, especially for dealing with constipation, is alcohol. All right. And if you are going to drink alcohol, you're going to also want to make sure that it's definitely in moderation. But if you're dealing with chronic constipation, I would highly recommend, again, it's not medical advice, but just from the studies I've read, I would highly recommend staying away from alcohol. Again, it can be different from individual to individual, but oftentimes we see a correlation between heavy alcohol consumption, even a little bit more than moderate alcohol consumption, just because of the dehydration rates. And again, hydration is so important for getting rid of constipation. If you're dehydrated, there's a good chance your risk for constipation is going to go up. So alcohol would be one of the ones that I would try to stay away from. I know there's some comments in here, guys. Thank you so much. These ads that claim there are 5 to 10 pounds of are they real? If so, is there a natural way to get rid? Well, I'm not 100% sure of the pounds or anything like that. 5 to 10 pounds is quite it's a pretty big range. I'm not sure where they're getting that information from. For one, it's going to depend on each person. I mean, if you're dealing with constipation, then it might be a little bit higher. Again, how much you eat, your body weight, your size, your height, things like that. So I generally wouldn't. I don't know. And again, I haven't seen the ads and what exactly their claim is, but is there 5 to 10 pounds of this? I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. And again, it's going to depend on your regularity. Regularity, we should be going once a day. If you're not, then that can add up. So keep that in mind. Again, if you're dealing with constipation, it could be a little bit more than that. And I'm not exactly sure. It's going to depend on person to person. It could be less, could be more. I think your important part of the question is the regularity. What's a natural way for regularity? And that's everything that we're talking about today. The foods that we want to avoid, the foods that we want to eat, all right, and keeping that fiber high. That's a natural way of getting rid, or to stay regular and to avoid constipation. All right, that's the important part, I think, of your question. So for a natural way to be regular, keep fiber high, stay away from the foods that we're going to talk about, like alcohol. That can be one. If you have a gluten sensitivity, staying away from gluten is a big one. The reason why I don't talk about that quite a bit is there's not a lot of people who have a gluten sensitivity, even though people may think that they do. Looking at the studies, it's like single digits and low single digits of people who have a gluten sensitivity. When the kind of gluten craze went out there and people were blaming it for inflammation, which it does cause for people who do have a gluten sensitivity. But if you don't, you're not going to be getting much inflammation or an increased inflammation from eating gluten. So you naturally drink lots of water as well. Stay hydrated. That's a big one. You can always increase digestive enzymes. A nice natural way of doing that is pineapple has digestive enzymes called bromelain, which can help with the breakdown of certain foods. I believe protein specifically. And remember, bromelain, a lot of people think it's an individual compound, but it's actually a number of compounds. It's digestive enzymes. So pineapple can be very helpful in that regard as well. So thank you for that question. I'm going to keep referring to your questions here, guys, because I see quite a few. Should the average adult have 7 to 8 fruit and vegetables a day, or a combination of? 7 to 8 fruits and vegetables per day sounds like I'm not exactly. It's funny because it's always changing what the recommendation is. People are always saying 4 to 6. Is it 5? If you're talking about vegetables are one of those things where you almost can't get enough of. So 7 to 8 fruits and vegetables, I would lean more towards the vegetable side of it than the fruit. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy the fruit, but I would go with the vegetables. And if you're getting like 7 to 8, I believe you mean servings. Rather than different sources of vegetables. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you eat 7 to 8 different fruits and vegetables. You don't need to. Sometimes I do, to be honest, though. It can be a combination of, but let's think in terms of servings rather than terms of different kinds of fruits and vegetables. I mean, it can come from dark leafy greens. Like, let's say you're getting 8 servings of broccoli, spinach, cauliflower, kale. You already got 4 right there, and then maybe you have some blueberries and an apple. All right, so that's already 6. So, remember, I don't like to deal with shoulds. Should you be having 7 to 8? There's no should. 7 to 8 is kind of a number that we can throw out there, but as long as you're getting enough servings of it. All right, so it can come all from spinach and broccoli if you really like that. Or green beans and broccoli and spinach. All right. So there's 3. And then maybe you have blueberries and apples as it. So that's 5. So you don't necessarily have to have 7 or 8 of them, just as long as you're getting enough servings of them. All right. And I think with veggies, you can't really go wrong with the more that you have, the better. Again, they're very nutrient dense, high in fiber. So leading it back to our constipation and constipation relief discussion. Dark leafy green vegetables, especially your broccoli, things like that. Even your apple and your blueberries, very high in fiber. So I think those are great. I hear papayas and their seeds are good to relieve constipation. Well, I don't know too much about the seeds. The seeds, I've done a little bit of research on the seeds and things like that. I don't see it recommended in a ton of foods to relieve, kind of recommended to relieve constipation. I will say sort of will. Same thing with papayas. Haven't really heard too much, maybe because of the digestive enzymes that are found in papayas. But, those are 2. I would still, I don't think papayas and their seeds are necessarily bad. I think with the seeds, you might need to be careful a little bit. And that sort of stuff. No, that's okay. We're on a topic, where we're going to have to discuss this sort of stuff. And we need to discuss it because it's an important aspect. A lot of people deal with constipation. The seeds soften the stool. Okay, well, that's interesting because I've never heard that before or read up on that. So that's interesting. All right, the seeds soften the stool. Again, you just don't want to eat too many of the seeds. It's just like avocado seed. Sometimes you get conflicting studies. Some people are saying the seeds are good. Some people are saying seeds are bad. So just be careful with that. Papayas, I would kind of recommend over the seeds, to be honest, if you were going to choose one over the other. But again, softening the stool is very important if we're trying to relieve constipation. Now let's talk a little bit more about foods to avoid for constipation. And here's a big one, because before I've kind of gone into a rant where, whole wheat bread, a lot of people are scared of whole wheat bread, especially with the whole gluten phase and everything like that. Or, people were gaining weight and they're eating bread throughout the day. And there's a lot of information out there saying that carbohydrates cause weight gain, and a lot of times they would turn to breads and pastas and things like that. The fact of the matter is, all right, if you're gaining weight, you got to look at your whole entire diet, because remember, weight gain and weight loss all depends on calories in versus calories out. But the one thing that we can say for constipation, all right, processed grains. So don't think of your whole wheat bread anymore here, or remember we talked a little bit about brown rice. We're talking about processed grains here now. So your white bread, your white pastas, and your white rice, things like that. Again, why is that going to cause constipation? All right, very low in nutrients. And the biggest thing is, it sucks all of the fiber, very low fiber in those. Whereas in whole wheat bread, all right, you're getting a ton of fiber. In whole wheat pasta, same thing, and definitely the same thing for brown rice or wild rice or black rice or anything like that. But your white rice, processed grains, are going to have that opposite effect. So, rather than like with the whole wheat bread, could help with constipation. There's some good dietary fiber in there. Brown rice, same thing. Good nutrients, all right, and good fiber, all right, which is going to help with constipation. Unfortunately, we're going to lose our picture again, guys. What time is it? 23. We've made 23 minutes into it. All right, so not too bad today. So I apologize for that. We're going to get the no signal here in a second, but we made it. I thought we were doing good. I was keeping an eye on it. Once we get past that 19-minute mark, I usually think that we're pretty good, but that's okay. Throw up a picture up there, guys, and we'll continue the conversation. But again, stay away from processed grains. Processed grains are going to be one of those things that we're just going to want to stay away from. All right. So, and again, processed grains are going to cause inflammation, and inflammation throughout the digestive tract is not great for constipation. Actually, probably going to make it worse. All right, so you're getting more inflammation, less fiber, less nutrients, things like that. And again, I think the fiber is the real big takeaway here, and even the inflammation. If you have inflammation throughout the digestive tract, diverticulitis, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut syndrome, all of that stuff, less nutrient uptake is going to go up, all right? And then that's going to sort of increase the risk factors of constipation. So keep that in mind, guys, okay? And again, I apologize for the picture being down there. Yeah, it's gone. I know, D-Will. I called it. We were at 23 minutes. Like I said, we were doing so well. I thought once we made it past the 20 mark, I thought we were good. But again, like I said, I always consider these podcasts. So that picture's up there just as a sort of nice thing to look at. But, you guys can put whatever you want up there and then still listen and ask your questions. So very funny. Again, I don't know why, but apparently it does not like that picture. Maybe I got to switch the picture up, guys. All right, let's get back to the foods to avoid. All right, so another one that may cause constipation, all right, is red meat. So sort of like your lean ground beef, your steak, all right, things like that, all right, especially when we compare it to like fish and lean cuts of meat, all right, because red meat can be a little bit higher in fat, and not just higher in fat, but also higher in saturated fat, which is harder for our body to break down, all right? Now, again, red meat, all right, not only is it harder for the body to break down, but it has little to no fiber in it, all right? And again, that little to no fiber. This is why I opened up with fiber, because fiber is one of the most important things, all right, to relieve constipation. Again, it's going to add bulk. improve regularity, improve food moving through the digestive tract, helping good bacteria in the gut to thrive. So help increase the effectiveness of that good bacteria to break down food and allow the food to move through the digestive tract, and also decrease inflammation. All right, just what we talked about. All right, well, we don't want inflammation throughout the digestive tract. All right, we want everything moving smoothly. All right, and again, you mix that with water intake, then you're going to most likely get rid of a lot of risk factors that are going to lead to constipation or can lead to constipation. All right, so red meat. A lot of people will, have red meat in their diets, and then sort of have that feeling of almost bloating or like the food's kind of sitting in their stomach. Again, it's very tough for the body to break down. All right, and again, very little fiber in red meat. So there's been a lot of cases where people have sort of complained about constipation type symptoms, and a lot of the times leading back, and you see this in some studies, not only can it lead to risk factors of constipation, but it can actually make chronic constipation worse. All right, again, because of those saturated fats, the low levels of fiber that are in red meat. Again, you can enjoy it in moderation, but just make sure that you're aware that just like alcohol, even if we're having it in moderation, it's probably most likely going to, increase the risk factors of you having to deal with constipation. So be careful with red meat there, guys. Now, another one is going to be like cheese and milk and things like that, especially if you're already dealing with constipation. All right. Again, if you have a sensitivity to dairy products, then absolutely you're going to be backed up for sure, because it's very hard for our bodies, if we have a sensitivity to dairy products, for it to actually break down those dairy products. So again, think of like cheese and stuff like that, even milk. Okay, there were studies that were done that people who drank cow's milk and were dealing with constipation, chronic constipation, once they stopped and replaced it with a milk alternative, say with like almond milk, I know another one was like cashew milk, soy milk, things like that, saw a significant decrease in constipation symptoms and more regularity. All right, and even less bloating. All right, and again, bloating can be caused for a number of reasons. A lot of it has to do with constipation. Some of it has to do with inflammation. Okay, so dairy products can be another one. And to be honest, they're usually generally a common cause of constipation. Not for everyone, but especially those people who are a little bit more sensitive to it and those who are eating it in large amounts. So again, just be careful of your milk, your cheese, things like that. There's tons of other dairy products. You guys know what they are, like a Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. What else off the top of my head? Any type of yogurt. Doesn't have to be just Greek yogurt. And again, if you're lactose intolerant, then absolutely you're going to want to stay away from these dairy products, because not only will you have constipation, but you're going to have a lot of digestive ailments coming with that. But if you're lactose intolerant, you probably already know that. So that's probably not news to you. Thank you so much for the thumbs up, guys. You guys I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. It's really nice as someone who, does the channel by themselves, puts up all the videos by themselves, and then comes on here for a couple hours every single week, a few hours. I think we're up to like almost 4 hours by the time I set everything up, schedule it, do all that stuff. We're doing 5 hours plus just with this sort of little podcast form too. So any support and all support you guys can give is very much appreciated. Plus the daily videos, again, a few hours there every single day. And a misconception that a lot of people have is that I'm a full-time YouTuber, which could not be further from the case. I actually work multiple other jobs, so YouTube is just a passion of mine. And as you guys know, with the adpocalypse and all that stuff, all right, you just can't sustain a living almost on YouTube and things like that. So I just want to get that out there as well with you guys in here, that I do appreciate the support, and any other support that you guys can give is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Like I said, this is a passion project. So, I spend a lot of time on the channel, have spent a lot of time on the channel over the past 8 years with all the research and putting up the videos, editing the videos, voicing them over. So I'm glad that you guys enjoy them. And again, all of the support that you guys give is greatly appreciated. Now, let's get back to the foods that we want to avoid. Again, this one's going to be an easy one for you guys. This will probably be the last one. So, dairy products, a lot of people just don't do well with cow's milk. I even found when I was eating Greek yogurt and cottage cheese on a regular basis, I found that I was dealing with more constipation symptoms. Just with being backed up, regularity was off. It's much better now since I've gotten rid of those dairy products. So, even for me, someone who I can handle red meat fairly well. Red meat is not something that I generally eat a ton of, but if I do have it, I don't really get very many symptoms from it, especially relating to constipation, bloating, any of that stuff, inflammation. But with dairy, I can get a little bit of it. So even with like glasses of milk and things like that, sometimes I would have a glass of milk for protein and just nutrients, calcium, things like that. I don't even tend to have that anymore. So again, keep that in mind, guys. Again, dairy products can be one of the foods that we want to avoid for constipation, and it's going to be worse for some more than others. And I tend to be one of the ones that it makes it worse for. Now, the last one here, again, you guys probably could have guessed it. All right, I'm gonna give two more. All right, I'm gonna give two more. I just thought of another one off the top of my head, but another one that's high in sugar. All right, so we were talking a little bit about the processed grains, refined grains. That's going to be one that you're going to want to stay away from. But sugar, oh, and here we go. See, this is why I like reading the comments. So as B1, almost like he is reading my mind here, exercise is good. Yep, exercise is definitely good. Exercise can help a little bit with regularity and things like that, gets the body moving. If you're dealing with constipation, exercise isn't going to be the be-all, end-all. We're going to want to stick to those foods, obviously. But again, it's going to be almost like one of those add-ons. So if the foods are good, the exercise can only help. But you also said sugar is bad. All right, and you're 100% right. Foods that are high in sugar, so kind of like your, cookies. I always go to donuts, things that I don't really have a lot of. You guys know that I'm not a huge fan of sugar. Just does not sit well with me. It's even worse than the dairy, to be honest with you guys. I'm not a huge sugar fan. So foods that are high in sugar have a much better chance of keeping us constipated. And you see people who are drinking like apple juice, high sugar pops or sodas, things like that. What are those things that you can get from like the supermarket? Geez, I haven't had them in so long. Like a slushie. Sometimes you see people drinking like a slushie first thing in the morning. I remember talking with another person who was very much into the business that I'm into, with working out, nutrition, talking to clients, working with clients. And we saw them drinking this right first thing in the morning. And then the first thing that we said was their regularity must be horrible because they're starting the day with literally pure sugar. So no nutrients, no fiber, inflammation. I wouldn't be surprised if they were backed up. And again, not judging, it's hard for some people not to start their day with certain things that are, sort of a habit to them, or things that are going to give them that dopamine rush or that feel-good rush. But again, that sugar, no nutrients, no fiber, and it's going to create tons of inflammation throughout the digestive tract. And, there's been some studies where people who are very high, eating very high sugar levels, there's a correlation between sugar intake and chronic constipation. And I'm not surprised. It makes a ton of sense. Again, it's missing those ingredients that we need for good digestive health. Again, I already said them. No fiber, no nutrients. Macronutrients are very poor. It's basically just sugar, so carbohydrates, and simple carbohydrates at that, not complex. And then also just creating inflammation throughout the digestive tract and throughout the whole body, to be honest with you. And if you have that inflammation, it's very hard for our body to break down. It makes it more hard, again, for our body to break down the foods that we're eating. All right. And also, don't forget, sugar really breakfast of champions. That's funny, Will. Exactly. I think that might have came up as well. Not the best breakfast, but again, we don't want to judge too much. But again, don't forget, just like our alcohol conversation, sugar is very much, and this is why I don't like sugar. I'm not a huge fan of sugar, and I think this is one of the major reasons why. Sugar is a huge dehydrator, so it's going to suck the water right out of you. So if we want good hydration, we need to stay away from sugar, or at least if you are having sugar, again, keep it in moderation at best. But sugar is one of the worst things for hydration. So you feel dehydrated. A lot of people think they're having like that soda that's, it's a liquid, but if it's full of sugar, you are losing hydration, and you're losing it quick. You're getting a little to no hydration whatsoever from something that's high in sugar. Sugar is very much going to dehydrate you. And again, for proper digestion and to relieve constipation, you're going to want to be well hydrated. So things that D-Will's kind of putting in here: Gatorade, again, high in sugar. Red Bull can be high in sugar. Again, depends what kind you're drinking. But again, those can often make constipation much worse. And it's not surprising. Like when I saw the number that 15% of people are going to deal with chronic constipation at some point in their life. And I'm sure that the number is much higher for just constipation in general. So we're not even talking about chronic constipation. It doesn't surprise me because we have all these sugars that are sort of hidden, like D-Will mentioned, hidden in certain foods, hidden in certain drinks, right? Even if you think of high fructose corn syrup, things like that, hidden in all these different foods that we're eating. Again, those are all going to lead to constipation and things that we're going to want to avoid. All right, it's definitely not going to offer constipation relief. 100% not going to. So again, that number didn't really surprise me. I know we've all kind of dealt with maybe constipation in the past. I have to a certain degree. As soon as I cut sugar out of my diet and a little bit of that dairy, I'm pretty much good to go right now. But again, I was susceptible to it with dairy products and when I was eating more sugary foods. Now, sugar was the one that I kind of just remembered off the top of my head. It's funny, B1 said it right there almost as I was about to bring it up. The last one you guys can probably guess is fast food or fried foods. Again, just one of the worst things. I'd say more fast foods. It goes hand in hand. Fast foods or fried foods. Because think about this, guys. If we're getting like a burger and fries and whatever else, it could be anything. Burger, fries, or even subs, things like that. Let's take a look what's in it. All right, first, very little to no fiber. All right, so no insoluble, no soluble fiber. All right, so again, very low in fiber. That's one of the things that we need for constipation relief. So low in fiber, high in saturated fats and trans fats. Again, very hard for our body to break down. Those fats are just going to stay in you. And if they stay in you, they're just clogging up the digestive tract. And it's creating inflammation, so it's making it even worse. So fast foods are one of the worst things that you can have for constipation relief. We want to avoid fast foods. If you're dealing with constipation or chronic constipation or constipation in general, fast foods are going to be one of the things that you're going to definitely want to try to avoid because they got all of the things in them, and we'll talk about a little bit more, all of the things that are going to make constipation worse. So we know there's little fiber in them. There's saturated fat, trans fat, high fat in general. They're simple carbohydrates, so not complex carbohydrates. So again, creating more inflammation throughout the digestive tract. And then another thing, high in salt, so sodium, again, a dehydrator. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I notice this 100% because I'll kind of have like a cheat meal every now and then. But when you have, say if you go out and you have, I don't know what's popular with you guys, like Wendy's or pizza or something like that, McDonald's, all of the brand name things out there, you'll probably notice that you feel very thirsty after it. At least I do. If I have pizza or something like that, very, very thirsty, just because of the high sodium levels. If you have pizza, you're getting almost like a half a week's worth, up to a week's worth of sodium just in one pizza. There's a ton of sodium, so salt, in pizza. And again, that's going to lead to constipation, and it's going to be one of the things that we avoid. Okay, so not only is there sodium, but again, hidden inside these fast foods are sugars. All right. So a lot of people don't realize that, but even in your burgers and things like that, the condiments that you're putting on the burgers, the condiments that are in pizza, again, are going to be very high in sugar, like the pizza sauce and things like that. So again, sugar, dehydration, all right, and inflammation throughout the digestive tract. Hey, Mac, how's it going? Good to see you in chat. I'm doing well, thank you. How you doing? Hope everything's good. Please tell us a little bit of where your expertise comes from. Oh, that's a good, great question. My expertise comes from 8 years of research, even more, probably almost close to 15, but 8 years of making videos on this channel, researching every day, because as you guys see, videos go up every single day. And I'm also researching topics for these live streams for 2 times a week. So every single day I'm researching foods, and not only, for this channel, but also for clients that I deal with, and also for my own personal health and for my family's health. So a ton of research built up over the years. Again, there's almost 5,000 videos that have been put up on this channel. If you can imagine, if you're just, how they say the 10,000 hours, the 10,000 hour rule, there's been almost 5,000 videos on here, and multiple hours go into each video. All right, and we're not even talking about streaming. And also, I do work with clients in nutrition. So even on a day-to-day basis in my own jobs, all right, I'm dealing with nutrition quite a bit as well. I'm feeling back pain causing pain in arm. Is it okay? I want to be sure it's not a sign of heart problem. Mac, that's a question for your medical practitioner, my friend. Again, I don't know how long you've been dealing with it. If maybe you strained something. If it's something having to do with your diet, it could be a number of reasons. So that's something that you just can't diagnose over a stream. And if you did, it's just irresponsible. So it'd be very irresponsible of me to say if it's okay or what caused it or anything like that, or what the main cause of it is. So I think the best thing is for you to ask your medical practitioner. Just talk to your medical practitioner. They know your medical history as well. I don't know your medical history, so again, it'd be very irresponsible to make any conclusions whatsoever on what might be causing that, Max. So the best thing that you can go and do is talk to your medical practitioner, my friend. And I hope you get some. I hope things are feeling better for you soon. And I appreciate that. Please you guys are doing a crazy job hitting the like button. I mean, we're all at 20 likes pretty much, so you guys are doing great. Yeah, so I hope that helps, Mac. Again, you just can't tell over the course of on a stream if serious heart problem, anything like that. So go talk to your medical practitioner, someone who knows your medical history. You can have a good discussion with them. So I appreciate that. Okay, good. Sounds good, buddy. Thank you. So again, we were talking a little bit about those fast foods. All right, fast foods. I don't know. There's the 20. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys so much. So, the fast foods. And again, nitrates, sodium, things like that. Things that are just unhealthy for the body in general. Just all packed into these fast foods. If it's fried foods, again, it's just going to clog you up. it's going to lead to inflammation throughout the digestive tract. So just, again, if you're dealing with constipation, or if you're dealing with chronic constipation, or even if you're just trying to avoid constipation, all right, make sure that you're not hitting the fast foods. All right, you're not eating the fast foods multiple times a week. Again, it's just like the sugar. It's only going to lead to an increased chance, or at least an increase in the risk factors of constipation, guys, and we don't want that. So that would be one of the that's multiple foods to avoid right there. We can classify fast foods, all right, a whole list of fast foods in there. You got your pizza to your subs. Some people think subs are really good, like a Subway sub or a pita or something like that. It's the exact same stuff. High in sodium, high in fats, low in dietary fiber, sugars in their condiments and things like that. So I would try to avoid that, especially if you're trying to avoid constipation, and especially if you're trying to get constipation relief. All right, guys, because remember, 15% are going to be dealing with chronic constipation. I'm sure it's much higher than that who are going to deal with just normal constipation, maybe acute constipation, so for a shorter time in general. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's got to be higher than 15%. Now, if anyone has any other foods that they're thinking that you might want to avoid, and again, we'll start with some ones that can help with constipation relief. We talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but the first one I would say is water, water, water. Make sure we're hydrated, guys. I can't stress it enough. It seems like something so simple, but if you're not drinking enough water, you are going to have a much higher chance of being constipated. We just need that hydration to flush out the system. All right. If we're dehydrated, there's a much better chance of us, feeling those constipation symptoms, being constipated. All right. Even those bloated feelings. All right. So make sure we're drinking enough water. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is drink 2 glasses of water. It's really going to help with regularity. There's been so many studies that are just showing this. Oh, that's nice, Mac. Thank you. How do you feel about taking Metamucil? Okay, so Metamucil is, if anyone doesn't know, is a fiber supplement. Marilyn, I have nothing against like a fiber supplement. Again, it's basically a food supplement when you think of it, because we're thinking of like a lot of people will include fiber in their macronutrients. And remember, your macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. So you're basically just adding fiber into your diet. Now, do you want, again, if it's Metamucil, I don't know the exact ingredients into it. I know it's good for fiber. I don't think there's any added sugar or anything like that, or preservatives and that type of stuff. I've to be honest, I haven't even looked at Metamucil in a very long time. But again, if you're having a hard time hitting your fiber intake for the day, you treat Metamucil like you would for any other supplement. Some people supplement with vitamin C. Some people will take a protein supplement to help get their protein up. People will take a multivitamin just to make sure that they're getting enough of a certain nutrient or nutrients, especially if you're taking the multivitamin, since there's multiple nutrients in there. So again, you're basically just supplementing food. Now, I will say, Marilyn, if you're eating healthy and your diet's right, but you're still feeling, constipated symptoms, and, you're looking for more constipation relief, that's when I would sort of turn to the Metamucil. But if you're not really dealing with it, I don't think you really need to take it in there. Or I think you can maybe increase some foods that can naturally get you that fiber that you need. So supplement is kind of the last sort of option I think I would take. I think if you're just adding a few foods here and there, you can easily get that fiber intake. Again, I don't know your whole entire diet, but I think if you're adding those like dark leafy green vegetables, we'll talk about all the foods that we want to put in there to help relieve constipation. All right, I'll let some out of the bag right now, like beans. We already talked about apples and pears. All right, so some nice fruit, blueberries, things like that. That's going to increase your fiber intake like crazy. So we'll let some out of the bag there, but we already talked about apples and pears right at the very beginning. But Metamucil, again, it's not a bad thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. Again, I would classify it as almost a food supplement, just like whey protein or vegan protein or whatever the protein may be. There's so many of them. Soy protein. That's just basically a food supplement. A lot of people will think of it as some other sort of. Think it's just for people who are lifting weights and going to the gym all the time. But basically, you're just eating food. It's just in a powder form. It's the exact same thing as eating chicken. So it'd be the exact same as Metamucil. Instead of eating, like, let's say, beans, where you're getting tons of fiber and nutrients in it, you're taking the Metamucil to get your fiber intake. So again, nothing wrong with it, but I think if you're eating those healthy foods, you can probably get up there, but if not, then Metamucil is your choice. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about, and thank you so much for the questions and everyone, and Mac, very nice. Hope everything's good with you. Again, speak with your medical practitioner about that, buddy. So let's talk about, we also talked a little bit about prunes. So we're going to get into some foods that are going to help relieve constipation. And I would like to hear maybe or see some questions from you guys, all right, on certain foods that you might think can help with it. Because, my list isn't going to be a list that has all of them. I think that's a big misconception. Say I put 5 foods into a video, or 6 foods, I put 10 foods, I put 20 foods. Some people think that I'm listing all of the ones that can do it, and, that I'm missing ones, but it's not always a complete list. I'm just giving you 20 foods that are going to help. So right now I'm giving you some foods that are going to help with constipation relief, but by no means is it a complete list. You guys might have ones, all right, that I don't have on the list that can definitely help, and then we can have a nice discussion about it. So again, it's not a complete entire list. I'll get a lot of comments sometimes if I have like 10 foods for, like, let's say arthritis, or 10 foods to help with, heart health. They'll think that maybe like that's only eat these 10. These 10 foods are the only ones that can help. But of course it's not. There's other ones out there, but these 10 are going to be ones that you can go to. So let's talk about some. We talked about prunes. Prunes have been, and they're very widely. I think the first one that was listed, it might have been by Maryland, was prunes. It's just been used as a natural remedy for constipation relief for so long, especially prune juice as well. So when we're talking about prunes, we're not just talking about the dried plums, the physical, all right, so actually taking the dried plum, the prune, and eating the prune, but also prune juice is very helpful in it. Now, one of the things with prunes is that, again, it's going to act as a mild laxative. And again, don't think of it as like a medication laxative or anything like that. It's mild, natural laxative effects. So it's not going to be a huge laxative effect where you have to worry about it, but it will help. And that's why it gives constipation relief. Also, it's very high in soluble fiber. And another thing with prunes is, what gives it its sort of laxative effect that studies have shown is it's high in phenolic compounds, all right, which again can help benefit digestion. And again, we're seeing constipation and constipation relief. This is why we're talking so much about digestion, because they go hand in hand. So the phenolic compounds are very high in prunes. It's just going to help overall, benefiting from that gut bacteria. The more good bacteria we have in the gut, better the digestion is going to be, the more constipation relief we're going to have. Now, also, there's a compound in prunes which is often it's not talked about too much because it's not found in too many foods, all right? And that's sorbitol, all right? So let me try to spell it off the top of my head. Sorbitol, I believe. Okay, so what that can do is it actually, again, we talk about hydration so much. We've talked about it so much in this stream. Hydration is so important. It actually causes water to be pulled into the intestines and into the colon. Remember, the colon is sort of like the last area of where we're digesting food, or at least eliminating food. All right. It's pulling water into there, so it's going to help flush out. All right, flush out the system, so increase regularity and avoid constipation. So that's why prunes are such a great choice. I love prunes. Prunes are, and again, it doesn't have to just be prunes. It can be prune juice as well. Now, another good one, and I actually put a video up today of kiwi. Kiwi is actually very, very good for dehydration, for constipation. Now, why is it such a good fruit for constipation? I already gave you guys apples and I gave you guys pears, so I don't want to touch on those too much, but kiwi fruit is very underrated. I talked about it a little bit in the video today, but it is very, very high in fiber, so dietary fiber. All right, so that fiber is so important. I can't stress that enough to you guys. We talked about fiber throughout this whole entire stream. So just with just those little kiwi fruit, they're very small, but just one of them I think is going to give you something. It's going to give you over 2 grams of fiber, like 2.5 grams of fiber. So if you eat one kiwi fruit, all right, you're already at 2.5 out of 3. Or 30, sorry. Remember, we're shooting for 30 grams of fiber. You're already at 2.5 just by having one little kiwi. So great for fiber intake. All right, and we also seen studies. All right, I mean, no, D-Will brought this up, but it can also help to soften the stool, which is going to give constipation relief. So kiwi is definitely going to be one of the foods. If you're dealing with chronic constipation, I would recommend it in the morning. All right, kind of eating it right when you wake up. It's kind of going to give you those laxative effects as well. But I think the first thing in the morning, having kiwi, all right, is a great start to the day. All right, and kind of get that digestive system rolling. You got fiber in there. You got mild laxative effects. It's going to be pulling water into the colon, help flush out the system. All right, and not to mention all of the nice antioxidants, nutrients, things like that, which is going to help with constipation relief as well. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, Mac, absolutely. 6 to 8 glasses, maybe even a little bit more, depending on your size and your activity level. You know, sometimes it could be 8 to 10 glasses, but absolutely. I think I started out the foods that we should be eating with water. Water is one of the most important things. We have to be hydrated. If we want to avoid constipation and we want constipation relief, water is very important. We have to stay hydrated. And that's why I say in the ones that we want to avoid, stay away from alcohol, stay away from sugar, stay away from fast foods that are high in sodium, or any high sodium foods, frozen foods, things like that. So it doesn't have to just be fast foods. You can think of any type of foods that are high in sodium. But absolutely, water. Just like I started the discussion on constipation relief, you're gonna need that water. If you're dehydrated, it's gonna definitely lead to risk factors associated with constipation. Now, another one that's a good one. All right, so kiwi fruit's a good one. It's very underrated too. A lot of people don't really necessarily think of it. I'll give you another one because I was talking with someone about this the other day, to be honest. We've seen a fad where kiwi fruit, and maybe you guys have seen it too, where you eat, it's kind of a fad in sort of the weight loss community. And I was talking with someone about how, and I'm going to come out with a video on this. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek or preview, but I've been researching grapefruit. All right, so we talked about how citrus fruits are really good for constipation relief and to avoid constipation, but grapefruits are one of the ones I really like. There was actually a study just on grapefruit. So we talked about citrus fruits, and a lot of times grapefruit will be incorporated with citrus fruit, but let's talk about grapefruit. Grapefruit is one of the ones that I actually used to eat for breakfast, and that's why, again, I would suggest a grapefruit right when you wake up or for breakfast, maybe your first meal. It doesn't have to be right when you wake up, but fairly soon after you wake up. And the exact same thing with kiwi. All right, but about, if you have one grapefruit, all right, medium-sized grapefruit, not even large, but it's going to give you close to 3 grams of fiber, all right, which is amazing. Just one medium-sized grapefruit, If you have that, you're already 1/10 of the way there to the 30 grams of fiber that we're looking to shoot for the day. So eating the grapefruit in the morning is very nice. The other nice thing about grapefruit, and again, this is like raw grapefruit. You can put it into smoothies or something like that. I think raw might be the best way. So either smoothie or raw. Don't juice it, because then you're missing out on a lot of the fiber benefits, and the fiber is the big constipation reliever. And the other nice thing about citrus fruits, and especially with grapefruit, is that it contains a ton of pectin, and pectin is that fiber that we really want. And there's been studies too that pectin itself, just the compound pectin, which again is a fiber, can reduce constipation. So it can provide constipation relief just in and of itself. That's why I'm saying raw. Don't juice it, because if you juice it, you lose a lot of it. And that's why I'll say squeeze a lemon or a lime into the water so you get those fiber and pectin benefits. All right. Now, also it contains flavonols, which are going to increase digestion and help with constipation relief. So I really like grapefruit. I think that's a very underrated one. And again, I would maybe try to start my day with grapefruit. Again, I haven't really read too much on mild laxative effects with grapefruit, not like some of the other ones that we talked about, especially with the kiwi fruit and things like that. But grapefruit is a great one. Tons of fiber. It has pectin in it. It has those flavonols, which again are going to help relieve constipation or reduce the chances of constipation. And again, studies show that. So very, very underrated. I know we've talked about citrus fruits like with the lemon and lime, but I want to make sure you guys have another one, which is grapefruit. Now, let me just make sure I'm not missing any comments here. And again, thank you so much for the likes, guys. I do appreciate it. Cucumber, oranges, juicy fruits, and vegetables keep you hydrated. Yes, they can. Cucumber definitely is one of them. Orange is fairly hydrated, I suppose. I would stay away from juicy fruits. I'm not sure exactly, Mac, if you mean like fruit juices. I don't think you do. Juicy fruits like watermelon would be a good one. It's very high in water. Some vegetables will keep you hydrated, but even more important for the vegetables is their fiber and even some digestive enzymes and things like that. Do I think exercise is necessary? I don't think it's necessary. Like, you don't have to be working out to have good digestion and constipation relief. So it's not it's not something that's necessary for you to avoid constipation sort of at all costs, but I think it can help. So if you have your diet in check, Mac, and you're avoiding those foods that we've listed and you're adding those foods in that we talked about that can help a little bit, exercise is definitely going to help as well. So it's not necessary, but it's definitely something that can definitely help. You just want to make sure if you're exercising too that you're keeping that water intake a little bit higher, because it can lead, if you're sweating and things like that, it can lead to a little bit more constipation, a little bit more dehydration. That's why. So the dehydration, all right, can lead to a little bit of constipation. But exercise is never, I don't know if exercise is never, if I can really classify it as ever a bad thing. Now, there is kind of some studies out there. I'm always looking for like exercise studies and things like that. I know this is not an exercise channel, but it does go hand in hand with constipation. You know, there's some people out there now that are saying that exercise is a bad thing because it makes you more hungry. But again, you're going to be hungry no matter what. We have to eat no matter what. So it's fine to feel hungry. It just depends what we eat. All right. So if you're exercising and you feel more hungry, eat healthier foods. It doesn't mean that you have to eat an excess of calories, so a surplus of calories. Just eat more satiating foods that are lower in calories, or foods that you enjoy that are healthy. And also non-exercise. So if you're not exercising, you're giving up a lot of benefits of exercise, like heart health, things like that. There's tons of them. Cognitive health. Cardiovascular health, I already mentioned. Like strength increases, mobility increases, posture, tons of stuff. So there's tons of increases, health increases associated with exercise. So, there's this big sort of fad out there where exercise bad, exercise good. It's almost like there's two camps in there, all right, on losing weight. But I think exercise can certainly help with constipation. Is it necessarily? No, but again, if you have all your ducks lined up, as to say, then exercise, it's almost like a supplement. Exercise will be like a supplement to your constipation relief. Some people do yoga and meditations even to relax themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Yoga and meditation, very useful for relaxation. Meditation and yoga have been kind of used for centuries, even longer. Exercise circulates everything, blood, waste, the lymphatic system. Yep, and that's why I kind of like it too for constipation, do you will. It's constipation relief. Get that it's one of the good ways to get the lymphatic system going. It's just going to have a ton of benefits. It increases metabolism, so your digestive system is working a little bit harder, so you're digesting food. It can increase nutrient uptake. I'm sort of in that camp where exercise, the benefits outweigh, an increase in hunger, which might lead you to eat more. But again, if you're eating more, just eat more healthier foods. Just because you're eating more doesn't mean that you're taking in more calories. All right. Again, it depends what foods you are eating. Okay, so let's move on I could go on and on about exercise, guys, on and on. But you're right, D. Will. Gets everything moving, circulation, even like our for bowel movements and things like that. Regularity, it's going to help. And again, it doesn't have to be super intense exercise. Going for a walk is fine. Doing like a 15-minute, Pilates or some YouTube video that you found where you just get the body moving. It doesn't have to be like running or anything like that. So when I say exercise, it's literally just getting the body to move. Okay, so if you're doing that, you're going to see some benefits. Now let's talk about some other ones. I think the grapefruit one is a nice one for you guys to know. Again, it's not talked about a lot as a constipation relief, but I think it's, like I said, a good one to talk about. Now, I talked about artichoke a little bit in the video, so I don't want to get too much into that, but I will give you another leafy plant. I talked about this in my garden video, but rhubarb. Rhubarb is actually, I didn't put this in the video just because I kind of wanted to save it for stream, to be honest with you, but rhubarb is kind of well known for its regularity promoting abilities. So it can kind of stimulate bowel movements. It has properties that can allow for that, which is kind of interesting because you don't see that in a ton of different foods, but rhubarb is one of them. I think with the rhubarb as well, it contains a lot of water. So I think with the hydration coming from the rhubarb also, I think that's going to help. But it also contains a compound known as senescide, all right? Senescide A, I think it's sometimes referred to as, I just call it seno, but senescide is how it's generally known as. Some people even will call it like senna, but I just call it seno. And so what senna does is, we talked about mild natural laxatives before. This is a herbal laxative, all right? And there's studies that go along with this too. So that's why I think rhubarb is such a good one. And you don't hear it talked about very often. So that's why I wanted to save it for stream and not put it in the video. So there's been studies that have been completed that show that rhubarb not only has bowel movement stimulating effects, but it also has herbal laxative effects because of certain compounds that are found in it. So how great is that? Two of the great things, and also I think it's quite high in water. So I think that's a great one. Rhubarb is another nice one. You can put it into smoothies and things like that. A lot of people can't really handle it on its own. I certainly can't. It's one of those foods that are a little bit sour for me to eat on its own, but I'll put like a stalk or half a stalk sometimes into a smoothie, and that's more than enough because it's so sour you just can't really handle any more than that. But just a little bit goes a long way, guys. Everything, like I say, anything is better than nothing. All right. So even if you're putting a little bit of that rhubarb in, you're going to get the benefits of that constipation relief from it. So I would recommend putting it in smoothies. Again, unless you're boiling it, but you don't necessarily want to boil it. All right. It's hard, or maybe you're coming up with some other recipes. It's very hard. It can be a little bit harder than some of the other ones to add to your diet. So maybe adding it to your smoothie is the way to go. At least that's what's worked for me. So rhubarb is very good. Now, the other thing with rhubarb, all right, it can help soften stools, which, again, is going to help promote bowel movement. So, again, D-Will, that's why it's fine bringing that stuff up, because stool softener, a lot of people will take that as a constipation relief. So not only Metamucil type supplements, so higher in fiber, but stool softeners as well, all right, to help deal with constipation. So you're going to get natural stool softening benefits just from eating rhubarb. But the other nice thing about rhubarb is it's a really good a source of dietary fiber as well, which, again, obviously we've talked about this throughout the entire podcast and discussion. We want that dietary fiber. That dietary fiber is going to help us with our digestion, but then also with constipation relief. And then it has a ton of micronutrients in it. It's pretty low in calories, so it's something that you can add to your diet, again, where you're not adding a bunch of calories. That's why I say if you're hungry, eat something like rhubarb, very low in calories and high in dietary fiber. You're going to be more satiated, all right? And a lot of people, one nice way, I guess maybe one way to add it to your diet, not necessarily in a smoothie, is chop it up really in a really kind of fine way so that it's really thin pieces, almost like it's almost like little chunks, very tiny chunks, and then you can put that into oatmeal. I'd maybe throw a little bit of raw organic honey, just a little bit. Remember, always moderation when it comes to the honey. A lot of people think I recommend 2-3 tablespoons all the time, but all you need is like a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon max. I never have over a tablespoon, but add a little bit of that as well, so it's a natural sweetener. It can kind of balance out the sourness of the rhubarb. But I think if you're putting that into the microwave or however you're cooking the oatmeal, that's a nice kind of mix. So I think that's another nice way to add the rhubarb into your diet. Now, another great one, let's go over another great one here, guys, is going to be legumes, beans, lentils, things like that. All right, now why? Why is those so unpopular for constipation relief? All right, we know that it's very, very high in nutrients. Beans, lentils, legumes are some of the most nutrient-dense foods that you can have. All right, very high in things like manganese, magnesium, phosphorus, even certain vitamins. So they're not only nutrient dense, but they are incredibly, incredibly fiber dense. They have a ton of fiber in them. Like just 1 cup of beans, I can't remember off the top of my head, but 1 cup of beans, I'm telling you, is like almost, I think you're getting pretty close to your recommended daily dose, a recommended daily value of fiber. So 1 cup of beans, you're getting almost 30 grams of fiber right there. And again, the great thing about beans is a lot of them are very similar. So it doesn't matter. Say you're a fan of black beans or red kidney beans or chickpeas or lentils and things like that. All right, they're still all very, very high in fiber. So again, that's going to help with constipation relief. And you can add them. So they're very easy to add to the diet. Very easy to add to the diet. You can add them to a bunch of different recipes. You can have them on their own. Sometimes I'll have them on my own, but sometimes I'll cook them sort of into a stir fry, right? And it's very satiating. So I'm a big fan of beans when it comes to constipation relief. I find that it's almost like the perfect food choice if you're dealing with constipation. All right, especially chronic constipation. But even if it's not chronic, let's say it's acute constipation, you're still going to see those benefits. So beans, legumes, lentils, things like that, I think is a great choice. All right, and again, it doesn't have to be black beans. A lot of people will just kind of turn to black beans and things like that. But again, red kidney beans, things like so many. I could just go on and on with that. So, and again, just 1 cup of beans, you're gonna get close to that 100%. I know it's way up there. I don't know how many grams of fiber, maybe close to 20 or something like that, just from 1 cup. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And the nice thing about it too is it contains both insoluble and soluble fiber, so can really help. They're well known to help alleviate constipation symptoms. All right, adds a lot of bulk, which again is going to help soften stools. And again, if we're adding bulk, it's only going to improve regularity. So I think adding beans, lentils, things like that, other legumes, a great choice. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any. Starts out behind vitamin C, an antioxidant, knows to boost immune health. Fiber helps to promote regularity and prevent digestive issues such as constipation. Absolutely, D-Will. We've been talking almost an hour and 15 minutes on the importance of fiber. So absolutely, fiber. I think I said fiber maybe. Oh man, if there was a running counter, I don't know. I think I've said it maybe 200 times in this discussion, just because it's so important for regularity and preventing constipation and for constipation relief. But you're right too. Vitamin C is great for a natural immune system booster. So definitely everything you said there, I agree with. Now, another one, all right, let's not forget about our healthy fats. All right, our healthy fats can certainly help with constipation relief. And again, we want to eat these more in moderation. We don't need to be eating flax seeds or chia seeds, because those are two of the ones that are often, even almonds or walnuts. Those are all great for constipation relief. I tend to lean towards flax seeds, and the reason for that is flax seeds are very high in fiber, but insoluble and soluble fiber. All right, which makes them great for digestion. And the other thing is, not only is it great for constipation relief, flax seeds, which I was going to say first, but I wanted to sort of lead it into constipation, tons of nutrients. And again, you don't need to eat. Remember, I only throw 1 tablespoon of grounded up flax seeds into my oatmeal. But just adding that 1 tablespoon, I know this off the top of my head because I do it pretty much every day, I'm getting 3 grams of fiber. That's 1/10 just from 1 little tablespoon. And I could add 2 in there. And if I really wanted to, I could add 3. It would fit my macros quite nicely. So let's say I was adding 3. Again, you're getting 10. You're a third there. You're a third there, guys. That's why I say, if you're not doing this type of stuff and you're taking Metamucil, maybe try adding a little bit to certain foods, because flax seeds, you're getting a ton of dietary fiber. And there's been studies, again, that show just the importance of fiber and constipation relief. So I think that's a good one too. I think even with flax seeds, it's been shown to improve regularity, so stool frequency, and even stool weight. That's not something we touched a lot on today, but an increase in stool weight is important for constipation relief. And flax seeds and these other nuts and seeds that I've talked about, that's why I kind of want to bring those up. Increasing stool weight, which again is going to bring on constipation relief. So I love flax seeds as a way to do that. So I'll add it into the oatmeal with blueberries. Man, I am getting a ton of fiber and complex carbohydrates, because don't forget the amount of oatmeal that I'm eating, I'm getting about 8 to 10 grams of fiber just alone from the oatmeal. So let's say I throw 2 tablespoons in, all right, that's about 16, let's just call it 15. That's half of my fiber intake for the day. And again, it's going to help good bacteria to thrive in our gut, throughout the digestive system. So not only in the gut, remember, it's throughout the digestive system, which is going to help with bowel movements, bowel regularity. All right, bowel movement regularity. All right, and also again, soften stools. All right, again, getting that constipation relief. All right, so again, Flax seeds are good. Chia seeds are really good. I would even recommend almonds or walnuts. Things like that are very, very nice. And then lastly, think about your greens, guys. Think about your greens. Like spinach is very underrated. Spinach you can easily add to smoothies. You can cook with it. If you cook it, it breaks down so much. People think like a cup or two of spinach is a lot if you're grabbing it by the handful. But if you're cooking spinach and you throw it, and say you're making a stir fry or something like that, if you're cooking spinach, it breaks down so much. I'll throw 2 cups in there and it'll look like there's nothing. Sometimes I'll add it to eggs. Sometimes I'll add it to stir fries. But you can't even almost tell that there's spinach in there just because it breaks down so much. And a lot of people will be worried, well, I'm cooking the spinach. Is that going to hurt the nutrients that are in it? Shouldn't I be adding it to smoothies or eating it raw, maybe making it into a salad? There's actually some studies that show when you cook spinach, it actually makes it a little bit healthier, releasing some of the enzymes in it. So I wouldn't be too worried about cooking spinach. I think if you're cooking spinach, it's just fine. The important thing is that you're eating spinach. So if you're eating spinach, all right, you're going to be getting the benefits of it. But with spinach, again, tons of fiber. And you only need like 1 cup. 1 cup is going to give you almost 20% of your recommended daily fiber, I believe. I know it's over 15% for sure, so I think it's somewhere around 20. All right, and that's great. I remember like what I said before. I'm adding in 2, and I can hardly even tell. So if you guys didn't notice, I'm getting quite a bit of fiber in, but I need that fiber because I'm not eating any dairy. I don't eat any I don't know. With my diet, it's like a lot of veggies and stuff like that. So I am getting good fiber intake, but it's also smaller meals throughout the day. So I sort of need it. And again, I cut out so much of the sugar and the stuff that we want to avoid. I'm really loading up on that healthy food. So of course, if I'm eating healthy food, you're just going to be getting a ton of fiber with it. And that's why, for constipation relief, focus on the healthy foods, guys. If you're focusing on the healthy foods, your fiber intake is going to increase. Stay away from the fruit juices. Stay away from the fast foods. That's not going to help one bit. All right, that's only going to hurt constipation. And I know people who've dealt with chronic constipation for months and months, and just an irritable bowel syndrome and things like that. Sometimes it can be connected together. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but a lot of the times they can go hand in hand. But constipation is not something, especially chronic constipation, that's not something that's very fun to deal with on a day in and day out basis. It can be, pretty draining. All right, if we don't have good regularity, it's one of those things that we can tell. It's like, well, wow, I haven't had a bowel movement in 2 or 3 days. My stomach's I'm feeling pretty bloated. All right, I'm not feeling good. All right, it's one of those things that we tend to notice. So make sure, we talked about a lot in today's discussion. We talked about a lot of foods that we should avoid. I think we talked about like 8 or 9 of them. But in some of them, like sugar or sodium or fast foods, you can cover a whole gambit just on those alone. I mean, any fast food or any sugary stuff. Just think of all the sugar type foods that are out there, guys. You're thinking from cookies to donuts to other certain stuff. So, that's a whole gambit in itself. And it's the same thing with fast food. Subs to pizza to pitas to all this different stuff that's high in sodium, high in salt, all high in saturated fats, which is going to make it harder for our bodies to, break down and get rid of and eliminate that food. So, we've really covered the gambit, even with the foods that we want to eat for constipation, like beans, different types of citrus fruits, different other fruits too. We talked about apples, prunes, pears, leafy green vegetables. That's a whole nother gamut. All right. So you guys, enjoy your food. Enjoy your healthy food. If you're enjoying your healthy foods, all right, and getting a good amount of healthy foods, you are going to get your fiber intake up in no time. Like I told you guys, that blueberries, oatmeal, flaxseed combination that I have, that's just one. All right, I'll have a smoothie All right, that's very high in fiber as well. I think if you're eating healthy, I don't think you guys should have a problem with getting your 30 grams of fiber. If you are, all right, you can always do like what Marilyn said. You can always supplement with a fiber supplement like Metamucil. But again, I think you guys, if you are eating healthy, staying away from the foods that we already said that we want to avoid, and focusing primarily on the healthy foods, you can help get rid of constipation. And again, the other important thing, the missing ingredient that we tend to forget, all right, you guys already probably know what I'm going to say. Water. Make sure we are hydrated. I love drinking cucumber water sometimes. Cucumbers are very hydrating. All right, tons of water in them. All right, it's making you drink a glass of water, and then I'll eat the cucumbers after. So I'm getting a ton of water just by having a couple glasses of cucumber water. So make it the water enjoyable as well. All right, it's a lot of people I hear complain about water's boring and stuff like that. Well, you can have lemon water, you can have lime water, you can have lemon and lime water, cucumber water, a whole bunch of different stuff. And again, the things that I just mentioned that you're adding to it are going to help you avoid constipation. They're going to increase constipation relief. So how good is that? We're hydrating, and we're getting the citrus fruits and the cucumber that are actually going to be helping with constipation as well. So how amazing is that? You're getting like a 2 or 3 for 1. Just make sure that you squeeze because I eat the cucumbers, I don't need to squeeze those in because I'm actually eating them, but just make sure you squeeze a little bit the lemon in there. So you're getting the fiber benefits, and especially the pectin, because the pectin is the real big one, especially for constipation, because it's very, very good fiber. All right, very, very good fiber. But is there any other questions out there, guys? Because I think, like I said, I think we really ran the gambit on there. I think it was a great discussion today. I couldn't be more happier with how this discussion went. We went over a ton of different foods, ton of different questions. You guys came in here, rocked it. I think we got some good ideas for constipation relief. Hopefully people who come back and re-listen to the discussion will get a lot out of it. And again, just as a reminder, thank you so much, guys, for all of the support, your views, your thumbs up, watching the videos, all right, coming into the streams. Again, any support is more than welcomed. All right, again, I'm the only one doing this. I think in terms on a weekly basis, I'm probably putting in about 25 hours into this channel. So 25 hours just on my passion project. So, that's a lot of time, but again, it's my passion. I want to help as many people out as I can. But it is 25 hours that's going into it. So I do appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate all the thumbs up. So all the support you guys can give, all right, greatly appreciated. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll leave you with that as I see the thumbs go up even more. Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Again, stay away from the sugar. Stay away from those fast foods, especially if you're dealing with chronic constipation. It is not going to help. Sugar, not going to help. That's why I'm very much against sugar, especially for myself and for others, my clients. The sugar is just one of those things that you just want to stay away from. It just offers no nutritional benefits, and you're just trying to get a dopamine drop from it. So it's just a feel-good type food. A feel-good type food that's not gonna be helping. So, it's worth the 25 plus hours that I put into this channel a week. Just to be able to help you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys are appreciating the content and enjoying the content and learning from the content. That's the biggest thing for me. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you again for coming in here on a Sunday, spending some time with me. I really enjoyed this discussion. Again, we put a video out today. The video up today was on kiwi. All right, so one of the secrets that I was telling you guys for constipation relief. And again, that took me a little bit of time. That was a little bit more of a research video, just because there were some things with kiwi that I didn't necessarily know, because I haven't done a ton of kiwi videos. All right, and then I saw the constipation relief, and I saved it for this one. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. thank you so much for spending some time with me again, like I said. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. So thanks so much, guys. Daily videos, daily discussions every Wednesday and Sunday. Again, thank you so much, and I'm glad you will. I'm glad you're enjoying the discussions. So they're going to keep coming. They're not going anywhere. All right, guys, enjoy your day. I will definitely be talking with